From 1701 to 1714, France fought Austria and Britain in the Spanish War of Succession to determine whether a Habsburg or Bourbon would become the new King of Spain. In the end, a Bourbon, Louis XIV's grandson Philip, was allowed to become the King of Spain. However, he had to give up all claims to the French throne and cede a great deal of territory to Britain, Savoy and Austria. So Philip V and statesman Alberoni sought to recover their lost territory and restore Spain's prestige. And to stake a claim to the Italian peninsula, he married Elizabeth Farnese, the daughter of the Duke of Parma. Plus, just a year after the war ended, Louis XIV died and his grandson Louis XV took the throne. But Louis XV was just a child, so his uncle the Duke of Orleans became the regent. So Alberoni and discontent French nobility began to hatch a plot to remove the Duke of Orleans and install Philip as the regent of France. Plus, Philip also announced that if Louis died, he would claim the throne. But the Duke of Orleans began to improve relations with his cousin, the new King of Britain, George I, and in early 1717, along with the Dutch, they formed the Triple Alliance in order to keep the Spanish in check. But under Alberoni, the Spanish economy greatly improved and they felt that they could fund a war. Plus, the Austrians were preoccupied in the Balkans fighting the Ottomans. So, in August 1717, they dispatched an army of a few thousand men to capture Austrian-controlled Sardinia. Within just a few months, the island was back under Spanish control and there was no sign of foreign intervention. So the Spanish decided to continue expanding and, in July 1718, sent a much larger army to take Sicily, which was then controlled by Savoy. However, the Austrians quickly made peace with the Ottomans and joined the Triple Alliance and formed the Quadruple Alliance. So, a month after the Spanish landed in Sicily, a British fleet defeated the Spanish at the Battle of Cape Passaro and moved an Austrian army into Sicily. The Austrian army, however, was initially defeated at the First Battle of Milazzo in October, and the Spanish officially declared war on the two nations. But in December, Alberoni's plot to remove the Duke of Orleans was discovered when the police intercepted letters, and this of course angered the French and they joined in the war against Spain. The French quickly sent an invasion force into Spain, completely catching the Spanish off guard, and under the Duke of Berwick, captured a lot of the Basque region. The Spanish responded by trying to knock Britain out of the war by starting another Jacobite rebellion, but storms only allowed for 300 Spaniards to land in Scotland. They failed to gain local support, so in June 1719 they were defeated at the Battle of Glenshiel. Plus, the Dutch entered the war against Spain shortly afterwards, but their involvement was limited. As for Savoy, the Duke Victor Amadeus II was worried about French and Austrian dominance in the region, so he too provided very limited support despite the Spanish invading Sicily. In October, the British invaded Galicia and invaded Vigo, but in the east the French, losing numbers due to disease, began to retreat, so the British soon pulled out of Spain themselves. Meanwhile, the Spanish were having some success in Sicily. They had defeated an Austrian assault at the Battle of Francavilla, but they didn't capitalize on this success, so the Austrians were able to reinforce their position in the north. With no breakthrough now possible in Europe, peace was made. However, in North America, the war continued. The French and Spanish had been fighting over Pensacola and Florida throughout 1719, but in early 1720 the Spanish failed to capture British Nassau, and in the summer, their Villa Sur expedition in the Great Plains was defeated by the Pawnee and Oto. So fighting in North America subsided. Philip sacked Alberoni and agreed to return all of his conquests to the pre-war borders. But as part of the Treaty of the Hague, Philip's son was able to inherit the Duchy of Parma. Also, Savoy were forced to hand over Sicily to the Austrians in exchange for the much less prosperous island of Sardinia. But despite the losses, Philip would make further attempts to reclaim lost land. For instance, in the 1720s he tried to reclaim Gibraltar, and this war to reclaim Gibraltar helped drive a wedge between France and Britain, and brought Spain into an alliance with France.